Back at it on Riley every day, continuing our countdown of sleepers, top 100 players ahead of the 2025-2026 season. As a reminder, we'll have these posted every weekday up until the season, taking you from player 100 to 1. We have four different categories we are going to get through on this show. First, I'm going to have J-Man do the honors of reading the list of players 90 through 81.
Yeah, so at number 90 is Kyan Anthony at Syracuse. Number 89, Xavier Lee at Florida. Number 88, Seth Trimble at UNC. Number 87, Fletcher Lawyer from Purdue. Number 86, Xavier Brown at Oklahoma. Number 85, we have Isaac McNeely at Louisville. And at number 84, we have Terrace Reed, uh, at UConn. And then we have number 83, Silas Demary at also UConn. And then we have number 82, Deaton Thomas at LSU. And we have number 81, Miles Byrd, San Diego State.
Hey, it's a lot of names to read, believe it or not. This is on me as a host. I need to just add the team names on the Google sheet so you don't have those brain lapses. The viewers might not realize it, but it just happens more than you think, where it's like you lose your train of thought or you can't find that school name you're looking for.
I literally have all the people in my notes. I even have I have Demary, like Raleigh, North Carolina, Millbrook, like
Uh-huh.
Georgia, UConn, and the only one I don't have in that is Terrace Reed, and I had a brain lapse because oh my God, UConn, UConn, UConn. But we got
Right.
through 90 through 81.
There we go. Great job, Jay Man. Well, let's get into these categories. So, the first one we've been looking at as we've been breaking down this list is the player you believe is most likely to outperform his ranking. I'll turn it to you first.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Isaac McNeely. I really like his game a lot, and I think look, he averaged 14 points per game, 42% from three in his last season and his for career at UVA, being literally the only guy at UVA in his career. And I think him playing alongside Mikael Brown in the backcourt at Louisville is just going to open up his scoring opportunities so much more than ever at UVA. I mean, you go from one year you're playing alongside TJ Power on the court to Mikael Brown, you're going to have a lot of open looks. And so I went back and forth with him and a couple other guys, but with what Louisville is supposed to be this year in the ACC and in the country, I think Isaac McNeely is going to be a dude for them. And so I have him as a guy for me to make that leap in the rankings.
Hmm. 2023 Peach Jam MVP TJ Power catching a stray. Did not expect that tonight. I mean, I agree with every point you made about McNeely. Both of us being ACC guys, we've probably watched way more Virginia than we would have cared to these past 2 years. Like these were not the Virginia teams of old. These were truly painful to watch, not just like theoretically painful to watch, but they put up but they win a lot when Tony Bennett was there, but like just really bad offense. And yeah, I had the same thoughts as soon as McNeely committed to Louisville. Is just going from being the offensive engine and the only one really on those teams who opponents had to respect as a scoring threat, definitely a shooting threat, to having the court that's going to be wide open alongside this deep group of guards getting up and down. I mean, you're talking about a 180 going from Tony Bennett to Ron Sanchez. If I'm not mistaken, Virginia might have played like bottom three tempo in the country last year. Like I think they played slower under Sanchez than they did under Bennett. And you're going from that to a coach who is known to push tempo and let his guys just have free range to take threes. It's if you look at what Rain Smith did for Louisville last year, I believe he made 110 or 112 threes on the season. Putting that level of expectation on McNeely might be a bit much just because that's such an absurd total. And I definitely think this Louisville perimeter group is a bit more stacked than it was last year, so it's probably going to be more evenly spread. But I think it's a one-for-one role to expect for McNeely, and I believe he's clearly a superior talent to Rain Smith.
Oh yeah, I mean McNeely. This is the first time in his career he's going to be able to shoot transition threes. He can shoot a shot up within the first 5 seconds of the shot clock. Like he's going to have games where he's going to fill it up. I mean, he had those at UVA, but limited possessions. Now you're playing up and down tempo, like you said. And Rain Smith, he was like that's all he did at Louisville was catch and shoot those corner threes or really anywhere. But McNeely, he's good at putting the ball on the floor too and scoring off the dribble a little bit. And you saw that at Virginia again, limited with what they ran offensively, but that floor spacing at Louisville and that tempo, man, I really like his ceiling this season. And I really liked him in the portal. I wish, my Duke Blue Devils might have made a call for him, but I really like Isaiah McNeely.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. To give some numbers to back it up, last year was the first time ever in since 2015 that a Pat Kelsey coach team was outside of the top 50 nationally in adjusted tempo. They're at 90, still top 100, still a vast difference from what what McNeely was playing in at Virginia. But I just think when you look at Mikael Brown, when you look at Adrian Woolley, Conwell, and McNeely all together, this team is going to run. I would be shocked if they were outside the top 50 again. And like you said, that's really funny to think of, like just McNeely for the first time being like, what is this with the opportunity to knock down a pitch ahead three like on the break? But yeah, so for my player, I think is most likely to outperform. I said Silas Demary, the guy who had the notes on Raleigh, North Carolina product. Over Georgia's last 9 games a season ago, he hit 40% of his threes. Really, really good shooting throughout SEC play. And I think that was a big part of what made him coveted when he hit the portal. Because, if you want to get a little nitpicky with him, he is a big guard who was pretty inefficient at the rim, all things considered. I think he was just 55% at the basket, and you want to see that number go up. Now, he does draw a ton of contact, which is good, but I believe that Hurley's just going to be a guard whisperer for him and get that percentage at the rim, more in keeping with what you would expect for someone with his measurables, someone with his athleticism. But yeah, I think looking down the stretch of last season, I mean, mentioned the 3-point numbers, but he hit 5 threes in the first round. The SEC tournament lost to Oklahoma, was knocking down, like giving you 2 to 4 a night leading into that, and really made strides in that area of his game, which, I mean, a season before made just 30% of his threes. So to see him make those improvements, I think just shows he can further round out his game. And, we already talked about the stylistic change of Isaac McNeely going from Ron Sanchez to Pat Kelsey. I mean, Mike White to Dan Hurley in terms of offense. I mean, that's like going from a Prius to a Porsche. So I believe Hurley's going to maximize him.
Yeah, Demary, he was close. He was one of the guys in my conversation, because his size too, 6'4", 195, big guard. And he, at the end of the season, last month of the season, he was awesome. He was awesome. He scored over 15 points in every game from February 11th to March 12th. And the only knock I had on him was the 2 months prior to that, December 3rd to February 5th, he didn't have a game where he scored 15 points or more. He scored that 0 times. And so if he can just be consistent, have that motor, which he's going to a guy in Dan Hurley that is a requirement from day one. So I like that pick a lot because he turned it on the last month of the season and he was awesome. And I think he's a kid that will turn it on for UConn because his coach is going to demand greatness from all of his players. And especially after the year UConn had, I think he's getting prime Dan Hurley of, hey, we're not having another down year. And so I like that pick a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't forgot to mention the defensive side of the ball. Really good point of attack defender. And I think with some of UConn's question marks at, I would say, really the 2 through 4 with Solo Ball, Braylon Mullins, I don't expect them to be super impactful on that end. Caravan, a smart team defender, but not a game changer with his athleticism by any means. Terrace Reed, who has never had a problem, being a deterrent at the rim, but sometimes has some issues guarding in space. And I would even say is a little shaky one-on-one as a post defender, but having Demery to at least cut off the head of the snake at the point of attack should, I think, have a domino effect for the rest of the lineup. But moving on to the next category, got to be a little negative here, but let's talk about the player most likely to underperform his ranking.
Oh man, this has been tough. This one was tough for me because there's a lot of guys here and a lot of pros and a lot of cons. I wanted to give you some some crap with Seth Trimble as possibly being my guy with it, but I won't go Seth Trimble. He was on my list just because, and that's not even a knock on Seth. I think Trimble is a good player. It's more so of Caleb. I think Caleb Wilson's going to be awesome. Luka's going to be really good, and so I'm going to go with Kai and Anthony just because I I haven't seen much buzz in the preseason with him around the Syracuse beat reporters and everything. Like obviously I'm a Duke guy, so like there's always like Cam Boozer and then Caleb Wilson for UNC. Like you hear all about these highly touted freshmen coming in for the programs, and I haven't really seen that with Kion. And maybe it's not on my part of Twitter, but the highlights that I see are from over the summer at Lifetime Fitness in New York City, and I'm not going to be
Mhm.
fooled with those highlights anymore. I got fooled with those with Ben Simmons for about 3 off seasons about 7 years ago. So I'm not getting fooled by that Lifetime Fitness in New York City where everybody there is the best player in the world. But, and that's not a knock on Kion. I think that I'm more than happy to be wrong about this because I want him to succeed at where his dad was arguably one of the best one and dones of all time and won national championship. And that's just a great story. But as time of recording, he's the guy that where I could see, maybe he's bumped out of the top 100 list.
I also picked Kai and Anthony, and I just wanted to clarify. I think he's going to be a pro. I mean, you have the gene pool. You literally have an all-time great as your father. You've seen what it takes to train to make it to that level and to stay in the league as well. And I think his offensive arsenal really, really polished, great footwork, good touch on his shot. And I think he's a really underrated passer as well. But as you would expect, just given even Carmelo's shoot first nature, he has a tendency to settle for tough jumpers a little too often, which again he can make them, but it bears out in the numbers. Shot 38% from the field and 29% from three in EYBL play. Now he was the leading scorer for Long Island Lutheran in their EYBL Scholastic circuit. Hit 44% of his shots, 30% from three, and that's a team that where he shared the court with both Dylan and Caden Mingo. And I think it's notable, he was the leading scorer on that team. So he's going to put the ball in the basket. However, my questions with him are more like Red Autry related. I don't really buy that he's going to be able to elevate his game. And even looking at this roster construction, Syracuse has a ton of talent, especially for an ACC squad. I think they're clearly in the top half in terms of just pedigree on this roster. I have some fit concerns though, just because JJ Starling is back. And if JJ Starling's going to do anything, he's going to get those shots up. Like, do you want to take a guess at how many field goal attempts Starling averaged a game last year?
I'm going to say 14 and a half.
Higher.
Oh my God. 16?
Yeah, 16. He averaged 16 attempts per game, made just 6.5% for 40% from the field. The year before, his first year at Syracuse, he was at almost 12 attempts a game. Like, this has been someone who has had the green light to basically do whatever he has wanted to under Red Autry, and that scares me a little bit. That it's like, oh, Kyan's gonna be in a tug of war for who gets to like be the ball dominant guard for the Orange this year. And yeah,
Jeez.
that scares me a little bit with how he might fall out. And even I'll give it to mix it up a little bit. Xavier and Lee, I just have some questions defensively. I think offensively, great first step, terrific passer, awesome system fit with the way, Princeton, I mean, runs Princeton concepts with the big playing on the pinch post, forwards out type stuff that Todd Golden loves. But I just have a ton of questions on how he holds up defensively.
Yeah, no, I have him as a question mark too because at the end of the day, Ivy League to SEC, like top tier SEC, what is that learning curve going to look like? It's not necessarily maybe he goes right into it like 17 points per game, 17 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
He's 6'4", 180 point guard. That's good size. So maybe he fits in well at Florida. But I agree with the question mark of like, does that game translate? And going to a conference where it's a lot of athleticism
Right.
that you have to defend
Exactly.
night in, night out on the perimeter. And so I like that pick as well. But again, the guy that I like offensively, fun highlights, it's just
Mm-hmm.
can he guard the Arkansas guys, the
Yep.
Kentucky backcourts? And it's gonna be fun to see.
Yep. Well said. Moving on to the next category, J Man, who is your favorite player out of this group? Like, who are you most excited to watch? Who are you going to
Ooh,
latch onto as a my guy potentially?
you know, I At first, I had McNeely because of what I said earlier, but I want to change it up a little bit, and I'm gonna go with Fletcher Lawyer because Purdue is just gonna be loaded. They are loaded, and he's going in year four. His first 3 years, he averaged double figures all 3 years. And I'm a little biased because Foster went to Davidson. Shout out to Foster, but like the way he just scores efficiently at his size at 6'5". I mean, with Braden Smith being the point guard. I just talked about McNeely benefiting from Mikael Brown. Well, here's Braden Smith, that is the best point guard in the country, and you get Fletcher Lawyer coming off of the screens, and he doesn't have to. He can score with 3 dribbles or less. Like his 1 or 2 dribble mid range pull up. I love the mid range. I love the midi. If people follow me, I love it. And Fletcher Lawyer's a guy that when he gets to his spot right there at the free throw line and pulls up, it's automatic. And so he's a guy for me this season that is going to be a guy, my guy. 3 straight years, double figures, make it four.
I love that shout. I think it's interesting that Fletcher. I mean, because he's not Braden Smith or TKR, sometimes the forgotten guy when we make these lists, where he landed at spot number 87 here, but he's someone who is indispensable to that team just because he is such an elite play finisher with his ability to knock down, catch and shoot threes. And like you said, he's got a little more versatility than that as well. Purdue guy through and through, no qualms with that. I mean, favorite player, of course, I'm cheering for Seth Trimble, even though I have some of the same concerns that you do about like, will the true breakout come with a lot of mouths to feed? And pretty much everyone across the board is equally unproven. I don't know how that's going to shake out at UNC, but to go outside of the homer pick, I really like Miles Bird at San Diego State. I think that's a roster overall in a league that I'm pretty fascinated by. So obviously San Diego State under Brian Dutcher, they have a good pedigree. You know, they made a national title game. They got over that hump, showed it could be done. But they have a lot of like talent and defensive minded guys yet again. But I think Bird is one of them. They have him and Magoon Guath, who I think will be playing in the NBA, which I think heightens the ceiling even greater to what you would usually assume for a San Diego State team. It's like if he continues to improve offensively, which he took a lot of threes last year, so I will give him credit that he worked on addressing a weakness, but he still shot just 30% from three, sub 40% from the field. But there was progress to be made. I mean, you go back. Well, maybe progress isn't always linear. I'll say that he shot 38% as a sophomore, 38.1% from the field as a junior. So there is a little bit of progress there. But I do think the 3-point volume went from 23 makes as a sophomore to 53 as a junior. Even if the percentage doesn't look that much greater, that means something to me that there at least is this developmental curve that he's following. And someone who was on like mock drafts for all of last season, elected to come back to school and didn't hit the portal. I think he is a true like elite perimeter defender, and if he can just further reform that and maybe get to like 15 or 16 points per game and just bump that 3-point percentage up a few more to 34-35%, maybe hit 60-ish this year, like San Diego State. I don't know if they run away with the Mountain West because it is the top half of that league is pretty strong and there's some good coaches there, but they could win that league and be another like very frisky 5-ish type seed.
Yeah, Miles Bird, that's a good pick. I mean, look, 6'6" lefty, and to go off your point about 3-point percentage, most of that is due to his just low percentage due to difficult shots. He would
Mhm.
just pull the most unorthodox threes, his shot selection, and because he had the confidence, he has the confidence, and maybe that is like one of when he entered the draft or wanted, the option. He wanted the feedback, and they're like, "Hey, you just need to shoot more efficient shot selections from three." He is a candidate on my list of 3-point percentage to make the biggest increase from year to year. His 30% is because his shots were just so deep at ill-advised times to where he cleans that up. He's easily 36%.
Mhm.
And so I like that pick a lot because of what he brings to the defense side of the ball at San Diego State, where it's defense first, and then, hey, just get us to 55 points. We'll win the game. He's going to be a guy for them that I can see him averaging 15 points per game, shooting 36% from three with the defense he brings at 6'6".
For sure, for sure. And even to that point about maybe some of his shot diet changes with the pieces around him are getting easier looks. San Diego State, they bring in a point guard, Sean Newman Jr. from Louisiana Tech. He's like 6 foot 170. That's who San Diego State is comfortable with. If you remember Darion Trammell, they like those short, skinny point guards who are just pests and dogs. And Newman averaged 8 assists a game last year. 10 points, 8 assists. So I think Bird should get some pretty easy looks just due to his style of play, and he'll set him up. But moving on to our last category, that's sometimes with looking at the lower part of this list, there are going to be some names of more unheralded guys. So I want to give you a chance to shout out. I mean, it doesn't have to be someone unheralded. It could be Terrace Reed for all I care. But what do you? The prompt is you need to know blank about this player. What does the casual fan need to know about any one of these players?
I'm gonna go Xavier Brown. I'll give you Xavier Brown, transfer from St. Joe's, Oklahoma. What you need to know about him is he is dynamic and volatile. And my best example of that is his game against Villanova, where he had 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 13 assists on 4 of 8 from the field, 1 of 8 of three, and 4 turnovers. He does it all. Like he plays his tail off. He's dynamic. He's a very good facilitator, but he can be careless with the basketball sometimes. I think he averaged like four, maybe like 3.5 turnovers a game, something like that. but he plays hard and he had 15 games last year with two or more steals. So when I say he's dynamic and volatile, that's what he is. He plays his tail off and plays so hard sometimes he gets himself in trouble. But Xavier Brown's a guy that is dynamic and volatile and somebody that I'm gonna keep an eye on at Oklahoma because at the end of the day, he averaged 17 and a half, 5 and 4 last year at St. Joe's.
Yeah, Xavier Brown was my pick as well. I agree with everything you said. I'm surprised you went with the Villanova game. As a freshman, a true freshman at Rupp Arena, had 17, 6, and 6 in an overtime loss. I'm with you. Sometimes I think the shot selection is a little out of pocket because he's so confident in he loves getting to that like step back jumper. It's not like the smoothest looking you'll ever see, but he, again, knocked it down a 35% clip. I would say when I watch him, to me, it's the change of pace that he's really good at. Very intentional with his moves, very smooth with it. Like you don't watch him and think, oh, this guy's an NBA guard because he lacks some of that top end burst and athleticism. But he is so crafty and so good at creating separation and keeping defenders on their heels. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised he didn't end up at a school better than Oklahoma, just based on like, there weren't a ton of proven point guards to go around in the portal this year. And you think about guys like Didon Thomas, another guy on this list who uh, I wish I could mention him. You need to know blank about him. I mean, he's an incredible ball handler, super cerebral, incredible passer, but that LSU roster, I think just still doesn't have enough around him. But yeah, when you think about guys like Didon Thomas or Rob Wright or Jacoby Gillespie, like or Silas Demary, once you get out of that group, there wasn't a ton of guys who it's like, oh, clear cut, surefire, like power conference caliber lead guard. I think Xavier Brown has a really, really good shot to be that and then some. And it depends on how many guys end up making the first team all SEC, but he could find his way onto an all conference team and it wouldn't really be surprising.
Yeah, I mean, he just his ceiling can be that. It's just that floor. Like I said, it's just that floor. If he's the off games he had at St. Joe's, if he has those off games at Oklahoma against again the same thing kind of with Xavier Lee, where it's like you're going against SEC like cream of the crop, best guards in the country. Can you hold your own at Oklahoma?
Mm-hmm.
And he has that dog mentality within him, and he has that mindset, which is great. But sometimes it gets him in trouble as well. Like I said with that stat line. That's why I brought that stat line out for the Villanova game
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
box score looks great. And then you see the 4 of 18, 1 of 8, but he just continues to play hard. Like he just plays his tail off.
Right.
And you're just
Right.
like, whatever the box score is, whatever the box score is. And so he's a guy I'm gonna keep an eye on because he is fun also at the end of the day, just the way he can facilitate and run an offense the way a coach wants them to run it.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned, I'm like, how many turnovers did he have in this Kentucky game? Oh, get this, only zero turnovers against
That's,
Kentucky as a freshman.
that's insane.
So he's not always volatile, not always, but yeah,
That's crazy. That's a hell of a game.
that Villanova game, like both he and Rasheer Fleming were hooping. I remember that was like watching that game I was like, okay, Rasheer Fleming is league. But yeah, you mentioned that is seriously such an insane stat line. And then you look at the 1 for 8. It's like, oh yeah, it's kind of the Xavier Brown experience. But we'll see what shakes out with him. Like Porter has had some success with these type of mid-major up transfers and putting them in position to succeed. So just a matter for the Sooners of like I'm sure they're going to win some non-conference games and be like 12-1 going into December. They just have to sustain that a little bit better through conference play. But that is our next part of the list of players 90 through 81. Again, we'll have these up every day until the season starts. J-Man, appreciate you joining me for this one and talking through some of these players.